everyone. I hope you are having a great day. Now, it is a little rainy, so if you hear some rain coming from the ceiling, just know that's what that weird background sound is. Today, I want to do something a little different. One of the things that I really want to do for this channel is help create a community for women who love to travel and be outdoors. So, with that in mind, I want to help highlight women, both past and present, that are pioneers in the outdoor and travel industry. Women that have forged their way and created a name for themselves, that have done phenomenal things in traveling, in outdoors. And so today, we are going to start off with Grandma Gatewood. Now, if you don't know her story, it's really quite interesting. And I'm going to dive deeper into not just what she's known for, but a little bit about her backstory. I learned a lot researching her that I don't think most people who know of her know her backstory, and I think it's really interesting. Most people know her as Grandma Gatewood, but her real name is Emma Gatewood, and she is the first woman to solo hike the Appalachian Trail, which is a trail that goes from Georgia to Maine across the east coast of the United States, and she was the first woman to do it completely by herself. Gatewood is also the first person, man or woman, to hike the Appalachian Trail 3 times in their lifetime. I will state the 3rd time she did in sections, but it still counts. She's not technically the first woman to hike the AT. That goes to Mildred Norman Ryder, better known by her trail name as Peace Pilgrim. However, she did that trail in 1952 with her husband. Emma Gatewood is the first woman to do it completely by herself. Emma was born in 1887 and died in 1973 at the age of 85 years old. She had a really long and wonderful life, and she did some pretty remarkable things in between, in that dash between those 2 dates. To begin with, she was born and raised in Ohio, and that's where she spent most of her life. At 19, she got married. She ended up having 11 kids and way more grandkids, great-grandkids, and so on while she was alive. One thing that I learned doing research about Emma was that she actually was married to a very abusive husband. Like I said, she was married at 19 years old. She worked in the tobacco fields with her husband, who would beat her on a very regular basis. She'd often go to the woods to try to escape his brutality and found solace in the woods. I think that's one of the reasons why when she hiked the AT later on in her life, she felt so comfortable there. His brutality and domestic abuse on her was so bad that in 1939, he actually cracked her ribs, broke her teeth, bloodied her face, and she retaliated by hitting him with a sack of flour. Police were actually called to their house, and they ended up arresting her, not him, for the fight. The next day, the town mayor came to the jail, saw how bad her face was, and actually had her come stay with him until she could feel better and recuperate and stay away from her husband, because he realized that the police had made a mistake and she was the victim in this incident. In 1940, she actually divorced her husband after nearly 30 years of being married together. And I think that is just such a testament to her willingness to endure that pain for what she probably believed was the best thing for her children. But at the same time, in 1940, to stand up and be like, I'm not going to take this anymore, I'm going to divorce my husband. I mean, you think about it, in the 40s, that's when World War II was going on, and for her to stand up against that violence and say, I've had enough, I'm done, I think that's really a huge testament to her personal strength and her endeavors to stand up for herself. And that was something I had no clue about beforehand. I knew about her hiking, but I think knowing that she's a domestic abusive survivor is really powerful, and I think that's something that has never been told to me before, and I think that's really interesting. Emma read an article in National Geographic describing the Appalachian Trail, otherwise known as the AT. And in the depiction of the article, she somehow got the idea that it would just be a nice, pleasant walk in the woods, and that there would be cabins along the way that she could rest at. So she first attempted to hike the AT, starting in Maine and making her way south to Georgia. Her first attempt did not work. However, her second attempt in 1955 proved to be a successful year. And at the age of 67, she hiked from Georgia all the way up to Maine. So with Emma under the impression that there would be cabins and it would be a leisurely walk for her, she didn't pack much. And she actually kind of led the way in ultralight backpacking before it became a huge business in the outdoor industry. So her hike consisted of wearing simple white ked shoes, and she created a little knapsack out of a shower curtain with a rain jacket, Swiss Army knife, a small notebook and pen, and for food she simply had some Vienna sausages, raisins, nuts, and not much else. I think because of her age, she was able to seem very open and nice, so people did allow her to sleep in their house occasionally as she hiked up the trail. But a lot of times she would simply just create a very minimalist shelter out of the shower curtain or wear her raincoat and sleep in the woods, which really shows her grit, because that's something I know I personally wouldn't do. I'm going to need at least a tent and probably a sleeping bag, and yeah, I don't rough it that bad. One thing that happens to a lot of thru hikers, or just regular hikers in general, is that they get something called a trail name. And for Emma, her trail name is Grandma Gatewood, for the obvious reason that she started her hiking career at the age of 67. I think that's a true testament to the fact that age can really just be a number, and it's all about your mentality. For her whole life, she had worked out in the fields, and having to overcome the domestic abuse that she did, I think it just really tells you how strong she was, that she didn't mind being out on the trail and probably found a lot of solitude in it as well. Now, after her inaugural 1957 hike, she ended up hiking the AT again in 1960 and then in 1963 at the age of 75. She is credited as also being the oldest woman to thru hike the AT. But surprisingly, that's not actually her only big trails that she's hiked. Emma is most associated with the Appalachian Trail. However, she did hike 2,000 miles of the Oregon Trail, connecting Missouri to Oregon. Her legacy is definitely one that has been passed down throughout the decades and probably will be passed on for many, many years to come. There are dedicated places across the AT that are named in her honor because of her pioneering ability to highlight not just the trail, but also women in the outdoor industry being thru hikers, and also her age, showing that you can be an older person and still get out there and enjoy nature and thru hike if that's something you want to do. Now, for those of you that are interested, Emma hiked the AT her first time in 146 days, averaging about 14 miles a day. That's just shy of 5 months. And if you look at any kind of books that help prep you for the AT or recommendations, typically they recommend that you give yourself 6 months to hike it. So she did it in quite a good time, I would say, considering her age, her inexperience in actually hiking, and her very limited equipment that she carried with her. I think she did a great job. Alright, hopefully you guys enjoyed this video and learning a little more about Emma, aka Grandma Gatewood. I want to continue this series and post one video each month throughout the year that highlights a woman in the outdoor and travel industry. So if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Let me know in the comments who else you'd like me to highlight. I do have a pretty extensive list, but if there's other people that you want me to highlight, let me know so I can continue doing research on them. As always, please, if you like my content, consider subscribing and hit that notification bell so you never miss a video. Until next time, I hope you guys will get outside, enjoy, encourage, and explore.